All right, welcome back. Hold the Capital. I'm Kenny. Today we're going to be going over Service Studio. So Service Studio is OutSystems low code and visual development environment. So with Service Studio, we're able to do a lot of things here. We're able to create the applications and the modules. We define the data models here. We create user interfaces for web and mobile apps. We define business processes and timers, and we can debug our apps here as well. So this is the main application that's used for software development using OutSystems. And so we definitely want to be familiarized with it, with the different components of it and how it works, right? So let's get into it here. The first step, of course, is downloading Service Studio. So you need to first go to the OutSystems website. This is the official OutSystems website, outsystems.com. So you can go there /downloads. That's going to take you to this downloads tab. So in order to download Service Studio, though, you first need to create an OutSystems account. So you're going to go to the left side here. You can see we're already logged in here, Code to Capital, of course. But if I wanted to, I can log out. And then when I do that, so you would actually see if you don't have an OutSystems account yet, they would ask you to sign up. You click the sign up button, and then you'll go ahead and fill out all of this information. This is a quick form, and they're going to go ahead and just ask you some general information, your name, if you work for anybody, email address, and then once you're done with this sign up, they're going to actually create your own personal environment for you, and you're going to have your own environment URL for your platform server. And so this is your platform server. Of course, in our last video, we went over this. This is what is the engine for all of your applications. So your applications are going to live on your platform server. You're going to be able to deploy your applications so that you can see them on your browser. You're going to go to your platform server's browser URL to view your application. So you need your platform server, and they're going to give you one for free. And so after you sign up, you'll go ahead and go back to your downloads page, and you'll be able to, right here, download Service Studio. So you click on this, and once you log in, you'll be able to download it. It will, you'll save the install file, then you'll run the install file, and it will install your application for you. And once you're done with that part, then you'll be able to open Service Studio. So the logo for it will be this red box with the white circle here, and that'll be your Service Studio application. And so let's get to it. And so when you first open Service Studio, you will see this window here. So this window will be where you enter your environment URL. So it won't be this one you see on my screen because this is my personal environment, but you'll have your own and it will point that out to you on the browser. Go to this platform tab and it'll take you to your personal environment, and then you'll be able to copy your link for your personal environment. You'll click copy link here, then you'll go back to Service Studio and paste that link into here. And then you'll click next, and then you'll be able to log in with the username and password that you created when registering your account. It'll be the same one here. And then you'll be able to log in. And And so after you log in here, you will see the application homepage. So this page will have all of your applications that you have created. When you first log in, of course, for the first time, you probably only have this single sign-on mobile application here that they add by default. But since you don't have any more apps, this will be blank. But as you continue to create applications, this whole page here will get filled up with all of the different applications that you have. From this page, you can, of course, create new applications or you can install applications from the Forge. And so the Forge, as we explained in the last vid, is the OutSystems community of applications that are available for download. So you can create applications and make them available on the Forge as well. And it's, of course, recommended and, highly suggested and pushed by OutSystems because it continues to make the community better uh, when you create components that now other developers can use and they don't have to reinvent the wheel again. Yeah, it definitely makes the community stronger. And so, yeah, you can also um, open new apps and apps that are already created here. And that's what we're going to do. And of course, there will be cases, say, if you're working on a contract for a company, there will be other developers that work on the same server as you. And so there will be other applications here that you don't particularly work on. You can always keep that in mind as well. And so when you actually click on an app, you'll see um, all of the modules that are comprised of that application. And so here you'll see the application name, you'll see the description of the application, you'll have the option to edit the application name or the description, you'll be able to delete it. You can download the OML files or you can open it in your browser. And here you'll have the develop tab, which will have a list of the modules that are in this application. And so here you see there are four modules in here. You see the name standards here as far as CW is for core widgets, CS is for core services. This would be the end user module here. And you also have a reactive custom module here. And so let's also check out a mobile application when we open it up. We have those same options in here, but we also have the distribute tab in here, which actually allows you to generate the mobile app that can be distributed through the app stores and use its native capabilities. You'll be able to generate an Android app or you can generate an iOS app for Apple. And yep, you can also distribute it as a progressive web app, which is basically a mobile optimized app that works on any device and can be installed from the browser. And so, yeah, that's the information that you'll see when you click into an application. And so when you actually, let's go ahead and go into issue tracker here, you'll actually click on the module that you want to open. So we'll open the end user module here. So this is the one that'll have the screens that the end user will actually see. And this is the module that will use different components that are in these other modules here so that everything is organized and kept good for different coders to come in and make edits if they need to, and it's easier to understand. So we'll go ahead and open this up. So when we open up this issue tracker, first thing we'll see is this is the interface tab. So once you click on that module, a new tab here will open. This will be the workspace tab. And so you'll see it says issue tracker for the module name, and in parentheses, it'll have the application name in it. So the application is also named issue tracker, so that's why you see the same name here. And so here, let's focus in on this tab over here to the right side. This will be your workspace tab. And so your workspace tab gives you the different layers of your module and the different elements that are available, as well as the tools. So here you'll see we have our UI flow folder here inside of the interface tab. We also have the images folder, the themes folder, and the scripts folder. Here in processes, we have the processes folder and the timers. In the logic tab, we have our client actions, server actions, integrations, roles, and exceptions. And in the data tab, we have our entity diagrams, our entities, structures, client variables, site properties, multilingual locales, and resources. And so here, let's go back to our interface tab and we'll open up UI flows. So now here, we'll focus in on this center part, which is our main canvas editor. So this is where you can actually see the low code visual representation of what your screen will look like. So here you can get a good idea of what your screen is going to look like before you actually publish it to the server. So here we're going to focus in on this button here. So when there's no changes that have been made on the end user module, this button will be blue and it'll say open in browser, which will allow you to actually see your application on the browser. When there are changes that have been made to your application, even the slightest change, like say if we change this to main dashboard, you'll see as soon as we made a change, this button turned to a green one and it says publish. And so this is our one-click publish capability here, where all we have to do is click this one button and our application, the new version of the application will get published to our server, and that'll be the new version that you now see on the browser when you go and view the application. So that's how easy it is to make changes and then view those changes on your browser and publish them up to your server. This button also always makes sure that your module is valid. So if you do anything that would cause a fatal error on the browser, such as not setting a list element or not setting an expression correctly, then this Service Studio one-click publish will not let you publish the application. So an example of that would be if I were to say drag in an expression here and not explain what the expression value is here and not set the value, then you'll see here our one-click publish button turned into a red button now that says errors found. And so this means that you'll now have to view your errors, fix them, and once they're fixed, you'll be able to publish. So let's say if I set my expression just to a blank value here, now you'll see we are able to publish again because it is constantly validating between all changes that are made in here to make sure that you are able to publish your new version to the server correctly. And so you'll have to fix any errors that it finds. And so that's just a great validation tool that OutSystems offers out the box. So I'll go ahead and delete this expression here. And that definitely ensures that only validated modules are ever published to the server. And there's also the tabs up here that we have the module tab, which offers a few different options as well, such as one-click publish, upload, open another version. You can also switch your environment. So let's say if you have multiple environments that you're working in, say if you have a development environment and a test environment, you would click switch environment here and you'll get your environment window tab open again. You would paste in or type in your new environment URL that you want to go to. Click next, log in the same way you did here, and you'll be in your new environment. So it's that simple. So we went over the applications and modules tabs here, as well as the environment tab, but we also have the Forge tab here. Now your Forge tab is where you can go and browse the Forge. And so the Forge is where, of course, we have a bunch of different components here that are available to all developers and OutSystems. You can, there's thousands of Forge components on here. You would search for which one you need. So let's say if you have a requirement for a calendar to be on your application, and you don't necessarily want to take all the time it takes to build out a full calendar implementation, there's actually a few different options here that you can use to actually plug into your application. And they'll have a few different inputs that you need to set to customize for your information. There'll be some work you need to do to implement the calendar, but it's definitely way easier than having to build it from scratch. And that goes for a multitude of other things, charts, PDFs, having a file system, using a Google Maps, creating advanced Excel files with your data. There's a bunch of different ones here. HTML to PDF converter. Yep, it's very powerful, very strong, and very useful as a OutSystems developer for your career. And you'll of course be able to see a bunch of different information on the application. You'll be able to see if it's um, you know if OutSystems supports this Forge component, because some Forge components, OutSystems, the company, actually makes available for developers. Other ones are created by other very high-ranked OutSystems developers in the community, and others are created by, regular developers. So when you click into one of your Forge components, there'll be a bunch of different information here for you. The number of downloads that it has, the ratings, the reviews. They'll have different details about the application. It'll let you know if this is supported by OutSystems or not. And so, yeah, say like this OutSystems UI web, this one is created by OutSystems, right? Supported. So you'll see it's developed, maintained, and supported by OutSystems under the terms of a customer subscription. So you'll know that this is a super certified Forge component, right? You won't need to worry about any errors that it has, any unknown changes that might happen, because it's not created by, a lone developer out there. Is created by OutSystems and supported by OutSystems on the daily basis. Then you'll have others like this Google Maps library that's by Labs, which is not supported by OutSystems, but it is created by a high-ranked company here that uses OutSystems and that provides OutSystems components for the community. And so this will also have, uh, you know, good documentation, release notes here. If you need any Google Maps functionality in your app, you don't have to build it from scratch. It's already provided for you. It's already created here for you. Forge really helps us accelerate our development and, not have to waste time doing things that are already done, already perfected, and already supported. Right, so now let's get back into our application tab here, and let's go over the four main tabs here. So these are processes, interface, logic, and data. And so clicking on each tab will reveal the elements that are a part of each tab and all of its components. So if we go back to our interface tab here, when you're viewing these elements on the tree, here on this elements tab, when you click down into them, it'll allow you to edit all of the properties of that element, right? So we have variables here for this screen. We have some data being fetched here for this screen. And we also have a few client actions here for this screen. So at the center of the canvas here, we can see the visual representation of what the screen will look like. And to the left here, there's a toolbox that contains all of the different widgets that you can use on your screen. So you have containers, text, expressions, labels, inputs, switch toggles, checkboxes, drop downs, a bunch of different tools here to use for your screen. And you can see a few of these tools here being used, such as expressions, text, container, an icon here, and there's a bunch of different other things here, as well as, counter cards, and there's different UI components that are already created for you to just drag and drop on your screen and then be able to edit it and make your screen look really good without a lot of that custom CSS and HTML having to be coded by you. It's already wrapped into these components that you can now drag and drop onto the middle screen canvas layer here, and it'll be right on your screen. Now, since we are on a screen, which is a UI element, this toolbox here will contain UI element tools, right? So it'll be visual things that you can see that will be used on the screen, right? To either separate the screen or to actually allow you to see things or allow the user to enter information on it. A bunch of different, use cases for the screen and what the user interfaces with. And here you can also change the preview mode, allowing you to edit how you actually see the screen, right? So by default, you'll see the preview mode in a normal web screen mode. But here you can click on the phone option and you'll actually see what your screen will look like on the phone. Because again, remember, this is a reactive web application. And when it's reactive web, it can be used on several different device sizes. You see how it changes it being on a phone versus being on a tablet versus being on a web screen. And this is all done for you automatically. You don't automatically, it'll generate a nice user-friendly view for you for all of the different type of screen resolutions. So now we'll stay up here on this top left side. You see you have your CSS button here, which actually allows you to set up your own custom CSS, which will create the theme for your application. And so usually applications will have a theme module that holds the bottom layer of the CSS. So it's basically the foundation of how your widgets will look. And then you can make your own custom edits for CSS for your application within each screen, web block, and also in your module here. And so you can have CSS just for your module in this level here that says issue tracker tab. But then in your main dashboard tab, which would be the style sheet for your screen, you can have your own custom CSS that would only apply to this screen. And the CSS in this module tab would apply to every widget being used in the module. You also have the theme editor here as well, where you can select different palettes for your application. You see this palette has a particular set of colors that it uses. You can change that here. Also have spacing, border, header size edits, and so, yep, just something else you can use to edit the application's look and feel. And next, we'll go over here to our right panel here where we have the main dashboard screen. But now let's go into the widget tree. So the widget tree is very useful for when screens like this that are very complex and have a lot of elements and components being used. You can actually use the widget tree to specifically zone in to where you want to make changes or where you want to highlight. So it may be difficult to select certain parts just from the screen, but when you have the widget tree here, you're actually able to go inside each of those layers and select exactly what you want to see, and you can go ahead and take a look at exactly what's going on there for that screen. For when the screen becomes very complex, it'll be really tough to actually get to certain elements on the screen. So the widget tree is definitely essential for that here. So like here you can see we have some columns being used, some column widgets. We also have a counter card widget being used. We also have a numbers counter widget being used. And so all of these widgets are being used together to create a nice user-friendly screen for the user. And we also have the widget breadcrumb navigation here as well, which allows you to, it'll zone in on the specific area you're in, and you can actually select which part you'd like to see there. And you can see each widget inside of the widget tree being highlighted differently as you select the different breadcrumb widget here. And so, yeah, that pretty much wraps up for the user interface tab. Next, we're going to move on to the logic tab here. So I'll go ahead and let's select one of the server actions here. And so here you'll see in the center part, this will be the canvas area, which will basically be a visual representation of the processes and the business logic that's being used in your logic. So here you can see we have nodes. Here's where the logic starts. We have an if statement here that's checking, hey, is the year greater than 0? If it's not, then we have logic here to set the year. If it is, then we go ahead to this next if statement. And so when it comes to the logic canvas here, this is pretty much how your actions are going to work and be used. Let's go to a different one here. You can use different server actions inside of your logic here. Lines, if statements, server actions, client actions. That's pretty much what you're going to see in these action flows. And that's how the canvas middle part here will be looking. Then to the left here, again, we have a toolbox, but these tools are going to be different than the tools that are on the interface tab. These are going to be, instead of widgets being used on the user interface, these are now going to be elements that are used in your logic. So you can call a different server action in your logic. You can pull data from an aggregate in your logic. You can call an advanced SQL query in your logic. You can call an if statement, a switch statement, a for each, an assign, a record list to Excel element, which actually takes an OutSystems data list and turns it into the Excel binary to download um, an Excel file. Then you have the Excel to record list, which actually takes the Excel binary and converts it into an OutSystems record list. So that's a very powerful tool that's used. We also have JSON serialize, which serializes an OutSystems data list into JSON. And we have JSON deserialize, which will deserialize a JSON list into an OutSystems record list. We have the exception handler, raise exception, a comment, send email, and end. And so those are going to be all of the elements that you can use inside of your action flow here and in the canvas middle layer. And these actions will also change. So these are the server action tools, right? But now for client actions tools differ slightly. So in client actions, you'll have start, you'll have a feedback message, right? You'll be able to run a different client action. You'll also be able to run a server action here. You can leave a comment if you just need to, leave a note on your logic for something to go back to or to explain your logic to a fellow developer or to yourself to remind yourself of what you're doing. If statement, switch statement for each, assign, JSON serialize, JSON deserialize, exception handler, raise exception, and you can call your own custom JavaScript in the action flow. And we have end here as well. And so all of your flows will have to start with the start node and they'll have to end with an end node here. And so this is the toolbox for your client actions. And really quickly, the processes tab is going to be very similar to the logic tab, whereas it'll only be logic actions in here, and these tools in the toolbox will be slightly different for the different logic. So here we can add a process, and so for a process, you can see what the tools are for here. We have start, conditional start, human activity, automatic activity, and a few other things here. Processes are slightly different, and so we'll have a separate video on processes as well to get into that. And we also have timers here, and a timer will be basically you're just calling a server action, but it'll be set on a particular schedule. Or if it's not set on a schedule, it doesn't have to be. You can just run the timer ad hoc from Service Center. And so you can run that timer on demand so that you don't need to actually make any code changes to do something. You can have a timer, run it from Service Center, and allow it to make the changes that you needed to make. And the last tab that we'll go over now is the data tab. So here on the data tab, this is where you'll create and hold your entities, or if you have entities from other modules, they'll show up on this tab here. So you can see the issue tracker CS module actually has a few tables that are being used by this end user module. And so you'll be able to create a new entity here, a static entity, create different folders to store the entities in, of course. And we also have structures here that are used. So so this is a data structure, and you'll use data structures if you need to have a variable that in a particular format to collect the data or to hold the data. Or let's say if you need to hold the data from an advanced SQL query coming out or any other aggregate data, you can use a data structure to do that. We also have client variables here. We have site properties, multilingual locales, and resources. And so client variables are variables that are used um, throughout the module, and they'll be available throughout all of the screens and all of the logic as well. Site properties are variables that hold values that can be changed depending on the environment you're in. So you would go in the service center for that particular server and you can change that site property value. So maybe in the development environment, you need that variable to be a certain value, but then in test, you want it to be a different value. Site properties is what you use for that. And you also have your resources here, which will be documentation, relation, things of that nature. Resources folder here will be like Excel files, um, you know, reports, or anything that you do use in your application that you want to import from the outside world. And yeah, for your data tab here, you can open up an entity diagram and you can actually create an entity diagram um, for that particular set of tables. Instead, I'll come in here and I'll open up what I just did was opened up the issue tracker CS module. And here you can see there's some data models already created here. And what the data model does is it actually shows you the relationship between your tables in your application. So here you can see there's a relationship between ticket messages and ticket attachments. You can see there's a ticket message ID on the ticket attachments table. So that means for every ticket attachment record, it'll be connected to a ticket message. And so we'll have of course, another video on explaining actual connecting tables, creating architecture for your application, creating entities and OutSystems the right way, and making sure that your relationships are efficient and they all make sense for your application. And that wraps up our Service Studio overview. If you guys like this video, find it helpful, please like it, subscribe, jam the subscribe button, jam the like button. We need all the support we can get. This is Code to Capital. We are here to teach you guys software development using the OutSystems platform. I'm Kenny. Hit that like button for me. Hit the subscribe. We're out. I'm going to holla at y'all.